For the August 28th meeting, can we roll call, please?
Chair Quilty,
Here.
Vice Chair Zellner, absent. Commissioner DeBolt,
Here.
Commissioner Gross,
Here.
Commissioner Hasty,
Here.
Commissioner Legere,
Here.
and Commissioner Lowe.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up oral communications. If there's anybody who would like to come up and speak on an item not on the agenda, you can come forward. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, move on to the consent calendar. Approval of the May 7th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the public hearing, conditional use permit for the commercial recreation. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Just wanted to provide a summary of our item tonight, and it's in consideration of conditional use permit for recreation indoors facility in the Plan Light Industrial area of the city. And so I'll have Associate Planner Tom provide a narrative, and then we also have the applicant on site tonight.
Chair Quilty and members of the Planning Commission, conditional use permit 2402 is the consideration of commercial recreation indoors in a 1,155 square foot warehouse in the Plan Light Industrial Zoning District at 10842 Noel Street, number 103. The applicant is here with us tonight. It's Jason Lee. He's in the audience there in case you have questions of him. And he's from TNG Golf is the name of the company that he would like to spread into this town. And this location is one of several industrial condominium units in the Noel Business Park. The applicant describes the business as an indoor golf facility with individualized private swing lessons, custom club fitting, and club repair. The business would like to use the warehouse area for golf driving and hitting. The applicant tells staff they will not sell any equipment at this location. The application tonight considers that this use is appropriate at this location, so you'll need to think about things such as noise, parking, safety, as part of your consideration. The business would use an appointment-based system for each individual and their private lessons. They don't have set operating hours yet, but based on past history at another location, most of the lessons and fittings take place after normal work hours. They anticipate that most of the business will take place between 3 and 9 p.m. Staff has added a condition to the resolution that the hours of operation shall not fall outside of daytime hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. There's a question of the sound of customers driving golf balls. The applicant tells staff that the screens they'll be hitting balls into are sound absorbing, and they will also leave the roll-up door open, which will allow sound to escape with minimal echo. However, if that's not enough and additional measures become necessary, they'll insulate the west wall to further mitigate sound. And there's a drawing of the unit in there. Oh, there it is. Maybe I didn't put it in there. Staff has added a condition to the resolution of approval that if at some future point due to public complaints, it's determined that increased noise attenuation is required, the applicant will institute solutions that meet the director's determination of approval or denial. That's a condition of approval. The commercial recreation indoors use requires 1 parking space per 200 square feet of the unit. The unit at 1,155 square feet would require 6 parking spaces, and there are 43 parking spaces on this parcel. The building is owned by one property owner, so he divides the entire street, the entire site's parking as they see fit. And as shown as the in the parking table in the report, this business does meet the parking code. And the proposed use is conditionally permitted within the zone and complies with the zoning code. And staff feels that this use in this unit is a suitable fit for the location and will be compatible with existing and future land uses in the vicinity. So therefore, staff recommends approval. That concludes my report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Hello.
You guys started promptly.
Yeah.
I was coaching.
Oh.
I was curious if you know if there's any other CUPs in this same building?
No, there aren't. Yeah. There is another Par Performances in there, which is a health and fitness type place, but they were smaller than 2,500 square feet when they opened. They may be bigger now, which they haven't asked about.
Okay, with that, we'll open up the public hearing if the applicant would like to come up and speak.
Oh, there's a switch on it. Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Quilty, Vice Chair Zelmer, Commission members. My name is Jason Lee. I am the owner of FNG Golf. Just to give you a brief background history, my wife Grace and I are second generation golf retail owners. My in-laws started a golf business 41 years ago in Garden Grove. And my wife pretty much grew up in the business. So she has the fun job of all the admin and the sales while I get to teach golf and do club fittings and do all the fun side of the golf business. So in those 41 years, they've had to relocate a couple of times, expanding, what have you. But as it stands, our current space, we do not have a hitting bay for players to be able to hit. So right now what we have to do is we move our inventory around to create space. We set up a net, and that's where I am doing all the fittings. But since COVID, golf has become so big, and it's become necessary for us to expand. And we've been looking at a suitable location, and we thought, why not Los Alamitos? Especially because my kids go to a dance studio across the street on Catella, Premier Dance Arts. It's owned by my brother-in-law and his wife. So since they spend an enormous amount of time there dancing, it was like an obvious choice for us to find a location there where after school I can take the kids to the studio, and then I would try to arrange my custom fittings and lessons and those types of the business that we want to do here in the 10842 location. So that's how this whole thing came about. We are looking for an expansion of the business, and as Mr. Oliver said, it is going to be a very private, one-on-one based type business where, we're not going to be a typical 9 to 5 open for business, people coming in type. It's going to be a very intimate setting where everyone would have to go through an appointment process. So, yeah, we are eager and looking forward to doing business in Los Alamitos.
Thank you. All right, seeing,
I had one question for him. You, in the summary, it says you're not a retail space, so you're not selling clubs, you're not doing that, but you are
No.
redoing the fittings and.
So the way the fittings work is golfers looking to upgrade their equipment will come and I will do a custom fitting to see what shaft they need to play in, what club heads, what length, what weight, loft and lie angle, all of that. Once that gets decided, then we put the order to the manufacturer. So the actual sales end of the business will still go through our existing business in Garden Grove.
Okay.
The
And that
phys-
includes the grip replacement and all that stuff as well?
Simple repairs like grip change, or if someone brings me a broken shaft and needs to have it reshafted, those types of work will be done at this site as well. Yes.
So I guess the reason I wanted to know is my question might be for the city manager. Does that affect the CUP if there is a retail portion of this being, because I'm assuming they pay for the grips and pay for the things like that.
It's ancillary to the business.
Ancillary, so
Yeah.
it doesn't require any.
Right, it doesn't
addendums?
require
Okay,
specials.
perfect. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you going to have just the 4 clubs that you've listed here? You have 4 names there. Do you not do others?
Oh, again, I just listed the companies that have provided fitting equipment for me, and those are the main 4 that I am currently using. In the future, if Titleist wants me to use their fitting equipment, it's a possibility. But it also, there's not a whole lot of space for me to have all kinds of different fitting equipment there. So we have to do what we feel is best for us. So currently, yes, there's 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do people bring their own clubs in, or do you provide them, or both?
For lessons, they will typically bring their own clubs, unless they are very new and they don't even have clubs. Then I may provide them with a fitting club that they can use to learn how to swing. So we are not going to be selling, since we're not going to be selling any clubs there. They'll either bring in what needs to be repaired, or they're going to come and I will do a fitting and recommend what clubs they should buy, if that makes sense.
So then, are you planning on using those 2 hitting bays predominantly for only fitting? That's what it's going to be built for, in other words?
Yes, custom fitting and lessons, yes.
Lessons?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
not just fittings, but lessons?
Lessons, yeah, private lessons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, do you have any idea of how many golfers you're going to accommodate for any of the lessons that you might be giving?
Oh, it's gonna be, I only do private lessons, so I don't do group lessons. So it's just gonna be, again, one-on-one basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had an experience at just got back from Arizona, and my grandson had a lesson at sounds like a similar facility. And the screen, it's interesting, I mean, this was in a strip center. So, I mean, these people are close to each other. And I was wondering about noise. This is before I saw the agenda, so but yet, and it's fairly quiet. I mean, I was surprised. I mean, but they're hitting into, in this case, a screen where they had projected on like a
Yeah.
golf course or
Yes,
is it the?
driving range, yes.
Okay, and then they had the equipment, like a TrackMan or
Mhm.
something that where you could,
Launch monitor,
gives
yes.
you all the data.
yes.
Probably more data than you'd ever want to know.
Yes,
But at this facility, there were 3 bays, and of course, lessons were going on. We'd
Mhm.
come in and he'd have a lesson. But it was also open to the public by appointment, okay? Everything was by the hour, I guess, or you would.
like an open driving range type, yes.
Yes, but it was you didn't have people lined up sitting there waiting
Right.
to go. It was all appointment driven.
Yes.
So will you have something like that where if you're not, I mean, do you have another person that works with you that gives lessons so that you're using two at the same time, or is there
No,
one available for somebody to practice?
yeah, it's
follow
just
your-
me. It's just me giving the lessons. My wife does from time to time give lessons, but she's so busy with the other end of the business, I usually take that role. Opening it up to an open range is something that we may consider down the road. But again, that'll be, as you said, be an appointment based. They would have to go online and book a time
Right.
to come. Even then, we won't be open in the morning hours. Again, it's because I would have to be still at the other location, the retail location.
Right.
And then once kids get out of school, I heard you talking about sports and everything. My kids are heavily involved in other sports and things that as well. So it's in the afternoon and into evening hours that when I'm there, I might open it up for open range hours if we feel the need, or if there's enough demand.
And that's your 3 to 9 o'clock that you had stated, right, in your application?
Yes,
That
yes.
it's gonna predominantly be.
Predominantly, yes, because right now, again, most golfers who can afford to pay $350 fitting fee are working during the day. So, I have to accommodate their schedule so that I'm usually doing work later into the evening. So, yeah,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
With that, we'll close the public hearing since nobody else is here to speak. Does anybody have any other comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. With that, we'll move on. Are there any staff reports?
So, good evening, Chair, members of the commission. Just wanted to provide a few updates tonight. One in particular, the looming our Lamson Park project, where we will bring it forth to Planning Commission for recommendation to approve or deny. Appears to be aimed tentatively for our September 25th date. We are awaiting a few more details as part of the application process. So when I say tentatively, is if we don't have all of the criteria that's required to present in front of the Planning Commission, then we'll just move it to a future date. But originally, the intent was to bring it at tonight's meeting, but it was just not complete. So we're looking at September or a future date. Other items here, just if you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of activity with construction, street-related projects up along Los San Luis Boulevard, north of Cerritos. And so there will be more projects down the road in the coming months that will consist of restriping for bike lane, and that's going to consist of Los Alamitos Boulevard, north of Catella, heading towards the high school. And then Lexington will also consist of other street-related repair and construction, and then park projects with Stearns Park, Labradette, and Sir Optimus in the near future. So a lot of exciting stuff coming forward, and among those, the process of doing those is we try to be mindful of the heavy traffic period in the morning with school and work. So naturally, we try to aim for those projects to start after 8:30 when school's already in session. Another few things here, Nights on Pine, and we had our first event a couple weeks ago. It's the first of 4 series of events, so the next one is September, and it's the 3rd Saturday of every month. So we'll be busy in the month of September with Celebrate Los Al, and then our Nights on Pine event that happens on Pine Street, so I would invite you to come out. We can also circulate a flyer if you haven't seen those dates, but I know Commissioner Zelmer's well aware of those events from seeing it from his front yard of his office, not his house. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've been trying to really, really make this a kind of a staple of events to socialize and really, hopefully, create this behavior and identity up on Pine Street with social events. Okay. And then lastly, you should have received an email for an invitation for the grand reopening for the community center. It's coming along very well. It's looking very nice. So on October 4th, That's intended to be like a grand reopening, a nice social evening, and complimentary food and drinks for all those in attendance. It's a free event, but it'll really showcase all of the renovation and improvement that's been geared towards the facility with Community Center 1 and then eventually Community Center 2 becoming future council chambers and EOC and a space that can be reserved for parties and social gatherings. So that's the next phase of the project. That completes all of my updates.
Do we have any commissioner reports?
So I just went blank on the name of the center, but right there by Brew House. So we go in, we've got the black box, and where Desamine was, they've expanded, which I think really is wonderful to see, because when they came here to get the approval to move in, it was like, well, are you really gonna grow? And it's nice to see that we do have businesses are growing in our town. So I did notice that they had that. Right between them, they do have the little alcohol place, so you can get a little drink as you go by. But it was nice to see, it really was, that they're expanding, so.
Anybody else?
Add something. I just wanted to mention, I appreciate the individual meetings that we had a week or two ago, whatever that was, to talk about the upcoming stuff with the Lamson project. I think the more information that we get for things like that, especially the size and scope of that, I appreciate that as a commissioner. So I'd like to see that moving forward. So thank you.
For that next month, last time it was a little bit chaotic with people coming in. I know can we make it more of a point so it's a little more structured to have only people who signed up with the slips be able to speak? We had, I think the last time it was like 2.5 hours, something crazy. There was probably 150 people in here, so I don't know if that's a possibility to be super structured on, hey, if you didn't fill out a slip, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think we'd want to encourage people to fill out the slips just to keep it as organized as possible, but ultimately if someone wishes to speak on a matter, they have a right to do that. So the best we can do is really just try to keep the meeting as streamlined and organized as possible in the event we have a lot of public turnout.
And we're gonna have that last time we had a little light
Yeah, right there.
thing? Okay,
What's
perfect.
can you do 3 minutes, or is it 5? Is there like a set rule what it has to be?
That's at the pleasure of the commission. I believe we use
Okay.
3 minutes for public hearing items.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's important to try to enforce just for the purposes of
Right.
giving everyone an equal chance and keeping the meeting running.
But I think what your point is that if we, say you had 300 speakers show up, as the commission, you can at that point say, because of time and wanting everyone to speak, we're going to limit the speaking to blah, blah, blah. And you do that in the beginning of the meeting,
Yeah.
so,
So
yeah.
I didn't know.
We
I
always
only bring
do
that
for a
up
big
'cause I
one like
didn't
that.
know
But you
if
can
we
bring
wanted
it
to do a
down,
motion
you know?
now to set that up for the next.
You know, I think it'd be better to handle that contemporaneously when you actually have the hearing before you and try to get a sense of how you want to order things.
Okay.
And also, it's not agendized tonight to take
All right.
Yeah.
action on
Right.
that, so.
Go ahead, Art.
For a future agenda item, I'd like to see us discuss the joint and shared parking for commercial condos. Okay, like the one we just had right here, okay, is a commercial condominium complex out there on Noel, at the north end of Noel, and then we also have the one over by the city hall. I don't know if by the post office, that was the subject of one of our other agenda items there. And it just seems to me we have I think we need to discuss that so that we don't run into a similar situation with respect to joint use on properties, on condos where we have undivided ownerships of land.
Is that something that we have control over?
I think with respect to parking, just in getting into a definition of shared parking, joint parking,
Yeah, I just
that
would
type of.
like to, I guess, request clarification on what it is that we want to bring. Is it just definition, or jurisdictional,
I think the best way to handle this at this point, because it has not been agendized, is just to allow staff to receive your comments and then
Okay,
try to
yeah, just,
bring it back or seek direction on what you would like to discuss so that
yeah.
so the group as a whole has an
Yeah.
opportunity to go through it.
Anybody else? Okay, with that, we'll,
Chair, sorry, I do have one item that I forgot to bring up, and it's the binder that's sitting there that reminded me of this. Commissioner Gross brought up a request to have the binder updated, and so moving forward, we'll have each commissioner with the opportunity to have a binder, and it has the zoning laws and language that can help during conditional use permits or future items. So it's just more of a reference. If you can recall, at one point in the future, we were gonna have iPads, but we ran into issues with Wi-Fi accessibility and just updating those, but we'll go back to the old school system of having a binder should you want to reference it during the meeting. So that'll be brought forward at the next meeting.
okay. All right, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.